Welcome back to Live Bold and Boss Up. It's Steph and Ash here, and today we chat with Patrice Meagher and Taylor Cohen. They're both from MilkMate. Patrice is the CEO and founder of MilkMate, and Taylor Cohen is the Senior Director of Strategic Growth. And we have a really energetic and fun conversation around basically breast pumps in the office.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And it's so inspiring too. Like just the fact that they founded this company from like totally different backgrounds, but saw a need and created something from it that's FDA approved. And it's a need for women in the workplace.
I think it's really inspirational too, just to hear like how they totally came from different industries and saw a need and created a company from that, because I think there's a lot of things out there that we can do. And so hopefully it inspires entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Patrice and Taylor, for being on the podcast today. We're so excited to speak with you.
Thank you for having us.
We're super excited.
Yeah, very excited.
Yeah. So Ash and I were talking previously before we got on the phone, before we started recording, and we were like, oh my gosh, if only MilkMate was around whenever we had kids. Tell us your inspiration and how you came to found MilkMate.
Awesome. Yeah, totally. So Patrice here speaking. I spent the majority of my career, the first 20 years of my career, working in commercial real estate. So I worked on the landlord side in Philadelphia for 5 years, and then I moved to New York in 2007 and joined CBRE. CBRE is an international brokerage firm. The majority of my time was spent representing landlords and helping them lease out space all throughout Manhattan. The reason I explain that to people is that I have a very in-depth knowledge in terms of the way that tenants think, landlords think. I understand regulations around real estate, wellness, cost of real estate, construction. That's my professional brain. So was in sales in that capacity. While I was at CBRE, I had 4 kids. I breastfed all of my children. And when I had my first son at the end of 2009, I was given 12 weeks maternity leave. And at that time, there was no laws in place for providing private pumping space. Those laws didn't pass till the end of 2010. And so when I came back to work, I needed to pump because, you know, if you're breastfeeding, you need to pump because supply and demand for people that don't know. And, you know, I found myself pumping in the bathroom with that child, and very embarrassing, awful, you know, unhygienic. Clearly, I made it 2 days pumping at work. What happens if you don't pump? Your milk supply goes away. So was forced to stop breastfeeding. Major pain point in my working mom journey. But for anyone listening that was working at that time, you know, it didn't even dawn on me to raise my hand and ask for something better. I just kind of went on with my life. It was important for me to get back to my job. Fast forward to my other 3 kids, laws had changed, but I still had to walk up 3 flights of stairs through a whole bullpen of men just to get to the room to realize I forgot a part. What happens if you forget a part? You can't actually do it. Now it's a whole domino effect of issues. Now I'm late for a meeting. Now I'm leaking milk. Now I'm, you know, everything, right? And in all of those years, I was also the loudest person in the room, helping tenants and landlords design their wellness spaces, helping the architects design the spaces, saying it should be here, you should put a pump here, all that kind of stuff. And so in all of those years, I thought there's got to be a better way to do this, which is essentially how we came up with MilkMate. And so what we are at MilkMate is a revolutionary all-in-one pumping solution that is built specifically for the workplace. We include, most importantly, a high-performance multi-user pump, and all of the parts associated with it come fully assembled, fully sterilized, ready for immediate use so that the woman brings absolutely nothing with her at all in order to pump. We are a wellness amenity paid for by the employer, and we are way more than that. We've evolved into a service in terms of analyzing the space, implementing an installation that we think will elevate the experience, and then servicing it over time. So that's the sort of quick on what we are, but we're more than that too. But that's the history behind it. Yeah. If that gives you an idea of how we came up with it.
It makes total sense now whenever you explain like your background is in real estate and like the space and all that kind of stuff, and then how it evolved into MilkMate. Like it all makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
I love that you do the service part. Can you share more about that? Because you told the story of how you would like walk up 3 flights of stairs, right? Go through the bullpen of men and then forget a damn part, which is, I know that's a pain. Like you have to then walk back down, right? And the chain of events happen.
Then you're like, whatever.
Bye baby.
Yeah, right. Literally go to bye baby or go home. And I was commuting from the suburbs. You know, it's like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
borrow a part from someone. You're not, how awful
Right.
is that? You know,
Right.
like, so,
Mhm.
okay. So the service part, I'm going to let Taylor answer a part of this too, but originally, we started as a pump and parts company. Okay. So it was important for me that you didn't have to bring the pump, which is heavy and cumbersome, to and from work. It was important to me that it was multi-user, safe, efficient, for the workplace. So that was one thing. That's how we developed our pump that is approved by the FDA. The bigger thing was around the parts, because anyone who has pump knows there's a million parts that go into it. So the fact that our parts are pre-assembled, pre-sterilized, eliminating the setup at home, the setup at work, the breakdown at work, the breakdown at home, that was crucial to me, right? That being said, over time, we've met with thousands of HR directors and facilities providers and real estate stakeholders. And overwhelmingly, they told us, yeah, we know we need to do this. We have a room. It's not that great. We know the laws are more stringent. Can you actually give us the full picture? So Taylor, you should, because Taylor is our queen of service. So you can tell us how we evolved into that.
So the service is like the ongoing kind of support that we provide to, our customers. And we think that there's a lot of value in this service, because beyond just providing what goes in the room and then installing it, we are the ongoing support for those users. So if they have questions about, our product, the pump, what sizing they need, they can easily reach out to us, and we provide kind of that ongoing continuous support, which people don't want to reach out to their HR directors and ask them about the pump, or say this size doesn't work for me, and talk about all that. So we find that we really alleviate kind of that pain point for HR, is that we're now the point of contact who are the experts and kind of know best practice. And we're hoping to continue to evolve that service with, even more experts on our team. We have an app. The app currently is used in terms of every time a user takes a part out of inventory. So we make sure that we're continuously tracking that and can restore the parts as needed, given they are single use. So when the parts are depleted, we kind of know we can send a reshipment. But our app also is a community, and we're continuing to build out that community of how users can connect with each other. We know moms are the biggest community of all, always have feedback, best practices they want to share, and we want to help facilitate that dialogue.
And what's awesome, like from the service perspective, is, my favorite part, I don't know if it's Taylor's favorite part. My favorite part of the service is that we can say to a customer, a big organization, a big employer, just so you know, on the 7th floor, you had 10 unique users. We call them unique users or valued employees. This week, they used 25 kits. We aim to save them 15 minutes per session. We save them 15 hours of time. They're more productive in the office. They're more productive at home. They feel valued. This is a recruiting tool, a retention tool, a regulation tool, a return to work initiative. Like, there's so much more than just like going into it for the actual user. We're trying to be a universal, solution, an equitable solution for anyone that is looking to pump in the workplace. But we're really trying to improve the life of the working parent overall. Like,
Right.
how do we improve it? We make it more efficient.
I love that. I'm so jealous.
I know. I'm jealous too. We are installed in my own company, and I walk in that room and I'm like, oh my God, this is where MilkMate was like labor and delivery and born. Like,
Right.
So
and anyone watching can see my head just going up and down, because I'm like, oh my gosh, like, yes, all those things. So that's great.
Is there like we were chatting before this, and I was like, wow, I wonder if there's like a governmental tax write-off thing, right? For companies when they bring in MilkMate as a service. Because to your point, there's rules and regulations now around this.
So we could talk for a long time around the Affordable Care Act passed in 2010, which was the start of providing more appropriate spaces for women at work to pump. But the Pump Act passed last April, which was, we should have celebrated the birthday of Pump Act. I'm looking at it right now. It was literally last week. We're going to celebrate it. We're celebrating it right now. Happy birthday. But the Pump Act basically, doesn't matter if you're 2 employees or 100 employees, you are required by law to provide a private, separate pumping space that is not a bathroom with close proximity to running water. And you are required to provide the appropriate amount of time for the woman to do this, and you cannot dock their pay. So a lot of that was aimed at non-traditional places of work, right? So manufacturing plants, schools, hospitals, hotels, casinos. Of course, in the traditional office space, we're looking at that, but this is meant to help people that are working kind of anywhere. Make sure that if they need to pump, they are given the opportunity to do this.
Yeah. But to answer,
Oh, yes, there's no,
there's no write-off currently.
yeah, that's a good question.
I think, given it's a regulation, maybe there isn't like, we should, I mean,
Yeah.
we should lobby for that.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, look, there will, at some point, we will hopefully work with insurance providers, because right now insurance providers cover the single at-home pump, which, by the way, we are like big fans of all the single at-home pumps. We are not looking to replace any of that. But we would love to work with insurance providers to help outfit the workplace much better. Because I think there's so much around that in terms of, I mean, we could talk for hours around the health benefits. And we are not anti-formula. We're pro-mom.
Pro mom, I
But
love that.
there is a tremendous amount of benefits to the mom and the baby around breast milk. And so,
And we're trying to just empower women who want to make that work and make that journey work for them to be able to do it if they choose.
Right. Can you discuss any challenges that you've had to face, like since you've started MilkMate, just throughout your journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So look, a lot of it is around the education gap. Okay. So a pleasant surprise for me coming from, look, I come from the commercial real estate industry where everyone is very like sort of, you just, moved into a new space. You understand. They're very like sort of close to the vest on information. And what I was pleased about was that a lot of the people that we talk to, like I said, they're the reason we built the product we built. They're the reason that we include furniture. They're the reason that our software looks the way that it does, is because many people were like, look, we know we need to do this. We don't really fully understand what happens in the room or what goes into a woman getting prepared to like leave for work that day to make it happen. Can you actually give us that information so that we are armed with the right information? And then of course there are people that are like, we have a room, we're good. I'm like, okay, but let me explain to you what happens. And so we had to figure out like the way to do it. Like, so, men ask me what it's like to pump all the time at work. I'm like, what if in order to have a cup of coffee at work, you had to pack up your coffee maker in a duffel bag, bring it to work with you, walk down the hallway, go into a small little closet, take all your clothes off, set up the coffee maker, brew the coffee. But if you forget the coffee or the filter, you can't brew the coffee. Now you're leaking coffee from your nipples. Now you got to do that 2 or 3 more times throughout the rest of the day. Then you got to bring the coffee maker home with you. You got to wash all the parts, feed the coffee to the baby out of a thermos. And they're like, that's what it takes to pump at work. I'm like, yeah, pretty much.
Dude,
so
that's a great analogy. I love that.
And so that I would say has been the number one
education.
But we don't care. Like we've obviously like one thing that Taylor is phenomenal at is the education. So like when we install with a customer, we do a tremendous amount of onboarding, and like the onboarding isn't just for women that use the room. It's for people that are just maybe interested in having a family, maybe interested in like the fact, I mean, we've installed at companies because husbands at one company have told us that their wife works at a big organization and you should call that organization and could really benefit. So everything, we're like trying to shout it from the rooftops. Like this is very natural. It's just like having to use the bathroom. Yeah. People get uncomfortable talking about the fact that women are taking their clothes off. We make it very comfortable to talk about the science around it and education. And we have like, I keep looking behind us because like we have one of our installs here, but we have education on site. We have education on our software. So we're trying, our kits have tons of information around it. And so I would say, that's probably our number one challenge. We get, the
FDA process. Getting FDA approval is a lot of steps.
And managing it with the FDA. Once you get FDA approval, you have to track every single
device. Like, we don't consider ourselves a medical device company per se because we think we're so much more. I mean, we are. That, but in theory, we are. We have to do all the quality management around, tracking and recording when we distribute our product. If there's ever a product complaint, which, it's a lot of documentation, which is so important because the safety of our users is of the utmost importance, on top of efficiency and making their lives easier. But, there's a lot that goes into getting FDA approval, wanting to expand our product offering, everything to go through a very rigorous testing process and approval process.
Yeah. And look, we don't even talk about this that much because like, we're so focused now on implementing and sales, and we've like, locked all of our manufacturing partners and all of our FDA partners and quality system management consultants and things like that. But like we did a tremendous amount of research and development before we ever even went to the FDA around what we wanted the pump to look like. We wanted it to be familiar to pumps at home so people could walk in the room and be able to figure it out. We wanted to have more sizes than other pumps have. Like at the end of the day, we're submitting for additional sizes next week to the FDA. We're going to have 8 sizes available because we want to be equitable we want to be work grade. We want to be a work grade pump So there was a tremendous amount of education that we had to undergo in order to be the experts. And so I think just making sure that people really understand like the value of our service, because we don't walk away. Like when you buy into MilkMate, we are with you forever. We are going to provide updated products, updated sizes. We are communicating, like we are the customer service right now, but eventually like our customer service will be moms that have pumped at work. Like it'll, that understand it and
Can
they can
empathize.
empathize. And we are all about like the user is not our customer, but we consider her our customer. And we want to make the experience for her A++, so that the experience for the buyer, who's the employer, is A++ too.
Right. Okay. I had several questions based on that. So
Okay,
like,
sorry, I know. I
one,
like totally went off on a
I
tangent.
love it. I love it. It's
Okay.
such good information.
No, I have questions too.
But the FDA process, right? Because there's probably a lot of listeners and clients listening that are trying to get FDA
Yeah.
approval, right? Or some sort of certification like that.
Yeah.
What was the process like? Just high level? I'm sure. Yeah.
I
Like
know.
how long did it take?
So look, one thing that I will say from like, I come from real estate, Taylor comes from consulting. We all come from different backgrounds. We're all, extreme execution people and have the same core values. But what we really did do in the first 2 years is we sought out experts in everything that we needed expert advice on. So like our, FDA consultant comes from the number one FDA consulting law firm in the country. She has 15 years of working specifically on breast pumps. We did the same thing on our quality management system. We sought out people that had many years experience. We sought out engineers that had the right experience. And so we were always looking to get sort of that top-notch advice so that when we wrote the submittal to the FDA, we were really going to be ready to go. We also chose a manufacturing partner that 95% of their work is in breast pump manufacturing, and they have all the correct certifications. So we were very serious about the checklist around what we needed to do. So we did a lot of research and development and a ton of testing. I mean, the FDA requires you to do performance testing, biocompatibility, random lot testing, aging, like there's everything, has to be done. So we submitted, but we did a ton of work leading up to the submittal. We submitted in September of 22, and we got approval on March 15th of 23. So that was actually a relative, the reason that was shorter was because our innovations around the pump really had to do with the sum of the parts, meaning that like, the sterilization, the pre-assemblage, the fact that the pump was multi-user. So we were, we didn't recreate the wheel on a pump. A breast pump is like,
and we don't want to. We want this to be a familiar product that people feel comfortable going into a room and be like, oh, I know how to use this, even though this isn't exactly the same one. It's very similar.
Right.
So I would say you have to find an expert to give you the right advice, to do the right testing, and you have to find the right manufacturing partners that are going to do things totally above board. So I feel, we hired people to help us find all those people. And, we actually just did a product roadmap just for our own selves. And it was interesting. And we have a smaller team, but we have over 50 consultants that helped us get to that FDA approval. So
the team is really important.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So having a background in real estate and obviously having experience with children in breastfeeding, creating a company was new to you, right? Or did you have experience doing that before?
Yes. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, how was that learning process for you? And was there anything that surprised you throughout, like creating a company, being an entrepreneur that you didn't expect?
Yeah. I mean, look, this is a great question for both of us, and I'll let Taylor speak about her history too. No, but like we're coming from very different paths, right? Like,
we come from big organizations with a lot of
public
structure.
companies, but I will say, I worked in commercial real estate, and when you work in commercial real estate on the brokerage, on the sales side, you work on teams. And like my team started very small. We started with a few clients, and we grew to many, like to be a humongous team with, a huge portfolio of business. So we considered ourselves entrepreneurial within our organization. So growing the team that way. But again, I had paper in the freaking copy machine. I had a desk. The lights were turned on when I got to work. Like I had a pass to get into the building. So like the sort of cradle, I don't like to say cradle to grave, the cradle to walking, a baby walking is a lot of work. And, I would say probably, we came from the biggest organizations, me and you, from the whole team. And so we bring a lot of that expertise is great because I think it makes us want to operate like a Fortune 100 company. But you do have to go back to your roots a little bit in terms of like
the scrappiness
of like taking the trash out and making sure the rent gets paid and making sure literally and like even like everything that you have to, you guys get it. And so I definitely think that being driven from a sales perspective is very helpful in execution of anything that you do. But it's definitely been a learning curve. Hiring has been a huge learning curve. I'm sure you guys, I mean, obviously you guys understand that. But
we feel you on that one.
Yeah. So I think the good news is that I always say that our founding team is extremely strong and we all have different talents, but we all have the same core values and we all are really good execution people. So my advice, if that's what you're asking for with people that are starting a company, is just to make sure you're the people that you like, that you find the right people and you use people like you to get advice and things like that, because, you don't, it really matters, especially I think with the first, 8 hires.
Totally. And like what you're doing, like, it's your life, like the sum of your days make up your life. And so if you're doing it with great people and you have a great mission, like what could be better? Like, then you want to
build the world you want to live in. That's what Claire always says. That's one of our partners, So, so yeah, it's really, I hate podcasts that you listen to and people are like, they like tell their whole story of starting a company and it's like all roses. I'm like, they're lying. Like they are literally lying. And I'm like, I love the podcast where they like tell their worst possible story because I'm inspired by that. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it's hard. It's like a lot of starts and stops. And we always say day by day, we say bird by bird, because like, sometimes you can't see like the progress you've made, even if you've made a tremendous amount of progress. And like my husband, one time I was like stuck on something. We were like, I think we were all stuck on something. And it was like, how are we going to get there? And my husband's like, there was this kid, he was like 10 years old doing a bird project and he forgot to do it. It was like due the next day. And he had like all these pictures of birds all over the table and like the poster board and the glue and like everything. He's trying to put it all together. And he's like, puts his hand in his head and he's like, how am I going to do this? And his dad's like, bird by bird. You're going to do it bird by bird. So that's why we're like super impatient people, but we have to like be like, okay, bird by bird, customer by customer, like bad feedback by bad feedback. How are we going to get this better? How are we going to evolve?
So important to us, especially with our, product and the way that like we're working so closely with working moms and who we consider like our primary users. Their feedback to us is of the utmost importance.
We're like
every single person that writes in, we spend significant amount of time kind of digesting that, documenting it, seeing how we can, innovate for our next install or innovate tomorrow. And it's literally so important to us. And I think, that's also really important as a small organization, is like, we want to innovate so quickly.
So the bad feedback is painful, but we like bad. I mean, I don't know if bad is the right word. Constructive criticism is important to us, so.
Well, you've already grown so much, right? If you look at it from when you wanted to first start it, just having pumps in buildings, right? And now you have a whole room that just comes and a service.
Totally.
Like,
We've evolved as our product.
You really have. What's next for you guys? I feel like that should be it, but obviously talking to you, you're like, I have so many ideas and you want to perfect it. And what's next for you?
Look, we really want to make sure we perfect this behind us, which is like our initial, our hero or heroine or whatever, how you say it, product, right? And make sure that we get the customer service right. So one thing, like we always, piloting and doing beta testing when we first were able to go to market once we got FDA clearance was huge for us. And like, we are full blown up and running, and like, that's not beta testing anymore, but like we are using this year to sell as much as possible and to gather more of that feedback so that we can perfect this product. And then like, we have a lot of aspirations around the software and around the community that we think we can build in partnerships. But we're trying to be patient around getting the pump and parts and the actual service around installation and elevating and providing a vision for where this company can go and providing feedback. And so we're using the tools we have now to build the product for the future. But that's the focus on 24, is to just sell as much as possible and get more
national
feedback.
exposure and expansion. Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity.
I do see this as being something that like is everywhere. Every company needs. I mean, I see it in our company in the future for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
We'd love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know this is.
We're now
this
in
is
we're now
great.
in St. Pete, so opportunity to expand all through Florida.
We love Florida. Florida's a strong market because there's so many people back to work full time.
Right.
Mhm.
Oh yeah. I feel like we never really left, truly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. No, totally.
Well, no, this is so great. I love what you're doing. I can't wait to get the word out there even more about MilkMate. We will put the link in our show notes. But this has been so wonderful. Thank you, Patrice, and thank you, Taylor, for speaking with us and sharing your story. I hope to see this everywhere in, just a short amount of time. So thank you.
Me too. We will.
Yeah.
No, thank you both too for for doing the podcast in general. I think it's great.
Thank you so much.
And for having us on. We're honored, and we're excited to connect with your listeners.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you
This
so
would be
much.
great. All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for listening to Live Bold and Boss Up podcast. We so appreciate you guys.
As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and rate us. Check us out on social media, and you can email us at liveboldandbossup@gmail.com. And until next time.
Live bold and boss up.